Hi everyone, I'm here today to do a little test and tutorial on how to color with Tombow Alcohol Artist Pro markers, which are different than the Tombow water-based markers. And in this video, somewhere into it, I'm going to show you the difference between the two. For now, I have this giant black pink flamingo case. Look how fat it is, full of my Copic Chows and my Tombow markers. I will link all the some of these Tombow marker sets from Amazon below. Mine I've had, for a year or two, and I bought all the different sets that were available at the time, and put them in here. So I don't have the box to show you, but you can see the box from the photo. So this is how I line them up in this gigantic, massive case. And then if I keep flipping, then you get into my Copic Chows. I go all the way to here. I have, look how many you can hold in this case. More of these here and on both sides. So I'll link this case. This case is still available. It's my absolute fave. I think it holds like, it's got to be like a couple hundred because you can put like 3. But I'll link this below. We're gonna pull some colors to show you. Now, again, these are the Tombow alcohol markers, not the Tombow water-based ones, which I will talk about in a minute. So I'm gonna pause this, pull some colors, move the case, and then we will continue. I'm gonna show you the difference between the two. So here I have the difference. So we're gonna look at, this is an example of the Tombow, that come in these flat plastic sets, the water-based brush pens, which are blendable with a water brush. I've actually never used them with a water brush. I've always used them directly on a picture. However, the difference is certain papers, like the Amazon books or thin paper, or sometimes even my Nina printer paper, do not work as well with these water ones because as you try to blend, you get the soft, mushy paper starts to come up. And also it's like a little thicker, ironically a little thicker and drier, so is the only way I can describe it, compared to my favorite, which are the alcohol-based markers. And so what I do when I'm doing a rose, I try to get 4 shades, sometimes more, of a similar color, dark to light. I kind of color them out, and then I line them up in order of dark to light, line them up that way on my table so I can remember, put them back in the order, because you can't trust the barrel colors. Sometimes you can't tell the difference. On paper, they look different than on the barrel. These are pretty close though. If you look, these 4 line up with these 4 here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty close. I did that with my 4 reds and 4 greens. So, for example, I have 4 reds. I lined up with this. We're going to do some reds and pink rose, and then I have greens for the leaves. And these are more like a translucent, almost. It's like a traditional alcohol marker. It doesn't rip up any of the papers. It goes on smoother. I love it. So I also have a bunch of alcohol blenders. I'm running low. I usually buy like a 3 and 4 pack of Spectrum Noir blenders, and alcohol marker blenders, and I use them like there's no tomorrow, and I think they're all dried out, but I have a few random ones. I have a Hoo-Hoo, Winsor Newton, and any of these will work. I think these are Tombow blenders, but they're pretty stiff. I just saw these in my bucket, and I'm not sure, not much coming out there, so I don't know we're going to use these. These might actually be just to go with the water brush pens. You have to get them wet. So any alcohol blender marker will work, but we are going to color some roses. And let's start with this one here. And what I'm gonna do and show you these markers, and just start with 1 pack of these Artist Pro sets. They come in blends, like there's a manga set and a floral set and a yada yada set. It's not like all blues, pinks, browns. So pick up one, try it out, see how you like it. I guarantee you you're going to love it. And then you're going to be like, oh, I have to have all the colors now. So with these roses, and this particularly, this was a Mariela Budak free 8x4 printout that came with a pack of her portrait books I bought from Etsy, but you could do this on any like 8x4 paper, or my favorite Nina paper I use all my Etsy printables for. Should work fine. You can see I've used these a lot. So I am going to, so I'm going to start with the darkest area on like a rose petal where you see shadow, especially if it's grayscale. This is much easier. So I'm going to go to, and I took my first one to keep these in order. I'm going to go, we'll do here. Let's do the inside with this darkest color. And it's okay if it goes over because they're all going to be pink. Just kind of go over that grayscale area. And then I just go to my number 2 and I line them back up the order I had them in. And I just blend it into that and then bring it down a little. And you're working your way with all 4 colors toward the edge. This is my 3rd color. And my 4th color. They don't all have to be in the same color. You could put a tinge of a purple there. And I'll show you how to do that on a different one. This one has more of a peach kind of a tipping there. So we're not using the blender yet. Let's do this one in reverse. So the dark is, it starts in the center and goes light up this way. So we're going to do the darkest one here. You can go back over that center. My second one, I'm going to blend in and put into some of this white space. And you see how smooth and juicy and easy these are? Like, it just glides. Like, you don't have to hardly do anything. I love these. I think these are as good as the Ohuhus, to be honest. In my opinion. There. And see, I tipped it. It's got like a little bit of an orange tipping. And you can technically, you could take this and go all the way over it. If you want some of that all the way in there. We'll do one that doesn't have the orange tipping so we can kind of see the difference. So let's do this one here. I'm going to put all the darkest one in some of the cracks, so to speak, like the little dark areas. But this is really easy, low level work here. But look how fast you can get a rose done compared to pencil. And I'm going to take that, I'll just do that orange tipping just in this little white sliver right here. Now what you can do, you can take your blender. I like this better on darker colors. I'm going to use the Winsor Newton blender because that one's pretty moist. I'm going to try to just do a little bit of that blending over the orange tipping ends because it'll lighten it a little. Makes it a little more white, and you can bring that into the color right below it. You can go all the way over it. You can do just a little. Depends on the look you're going for. You don't have to use it at all. Okay, let's continue. We're just going to do this whole flower. Just going to trace these dark spots with the darkest one. And the 4 colors I picked really don't vary that much. The trick is you do need one in your shade that's fairly dark to get into over the dark grayscale areas, so you get that definition. But it's okay if each color after is only slightly lighter. It doesn't have to be significantly. If it's too significant, you'll see too much, it'll be too obvious, basically. All right. Like the transition won't blend as well. I'm just going to tip into the white spots. This one is that more, it's almost like a peachy pink. And I'm going to leave it dark. I'm not going to do any blender in the center because you want it to be dark. I'm going to take that. Oh, I need to read. See, I think I accidentally lined them up back up wrong. If you accidentally line them up wrong when you put them back, it's going to throw you off. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this darkest one and do this little center part dark. You can even get like a fuchsia, like a darker marker to go right in there. I want that to be dark in the center there. All right. Let us continue. I might pause this and finish and then show you that and move on to the next color. I'm doing this faster than normal just so you can get a good idea. You could even go up like this. So you kind of have some little stripes. Definition. All right. There we go. Go to the third color. Now you can do as much of that tipping as you want. You could do a lavender, you could do a baby pink. You can do whatever you want right there. This one, I generally go with a more lavender pink. I don't know why I picked this orangey one. But you see the difference where I did the blender here. It took away that orange and kind of made it white. Versus here, it's still kind of orange. So you could do either look. I'm just going to do a little bit of that here. Do light, a little lighter. The blender. Oh, this is a hoo-hoo. That's a different blender. I just realized I'm using. Okay, this one, yeah, see, this one's not making it quite as white. This one, that means it has a little less alcohol in it. It's a little more used up, but it still works. Enough. Okay, I'm going to pause, finish this leaf. We'll move on to the reds, and I'll show you the greens. Okay, so we are done with our rose using these 4 and 2 different alcohol blenders. A few tricks you can see what I did here. So for this part right here, this is like the petal folded over. So I put the lighter color here so it kind of stands out because there's some dark grayscale here with the darker color. So I did that kind of orange tipping there. Made a little boo-boo there, but you can go back over that if you want. You can alcohol blend it. If you feel like there's too much white from your alcohol blender, you can go back over that with marker. You can really do whatever you want. It's super easy and versatile. But we are going to move on to our, let's do our 4 greens next. So I have 4 greens. I lined up sort of dark to light. This one has a little more yellow tint in it. It's going to be a nice for the leaves. Let's zoom in. We're going to do some leaves here. My camera. Ugh, these A4 papers are kind of a pain because they're so long. You can't always get them all on camera. All right. So we're going to do some leaves next to our rose. Again, we're going to start with this darkest one. Sometimes you got to be careful if you do a green that's too dark and all the rest are too light. You're going to see a very obvious gradient in the middle where I like to do the dark, and then you have to go over it with like the mid-tone, but we'll see. So I'm going to do this darker green in the center, and I'm going to kind of just go over all these lines right here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Do a little thicker. Maybe a little bit right around the base. And this is just one way you could do it. It'll look a little clunky, but that's all right. And look, one of my markers dripped, so I got some, darn it, some big on there. So then I'm going to take this and go along the center. This is my second green. Just going to go along the center and then go over each of these middle ones here. And outline it with the second darkest. You don't want it popping out too dark with the darkest. I'm going to take my third color, which is a little more of a neon popping green here. Leave some white because, and of course, my pink dripped on the leaf because I shook it over it, which you should not do. There, now you know why. And I'm going to take my lightest, which has some of that yellow, and go over this here. You could try to get a little white Posca pen and go over that if you drip on it, and then make it look like some little white dots, or blue for like water drips. The Tombow alcohol markers, I've had mine for a couple of years, like over 2 years. I think I bought them. And the more you use them and shake them up, the more you can get a little bit of dripping if you're shaking it, which you don't really have to shake because it's not an acrylic pen, but I just kind of do that anyway to mix up the ink in the barrel. So anyway, so here we have that pretty kind of yellow, and you see why when you go over it with like a greenish yellow or like a neon or a lime, it kind of makes the colors pop out a little. If you don't like here, this darker green gradient, you kind of see where it ends. You can take that, you can go to like your third color or your second color again and fill in some of that. This is my third color. I'm not going to use the blender on this one, but we'll do the blender on the other one. You can also take your dark one again, your darkest, and redefine that center. You can also then go over this with pencil. There's a lot of things you could do here. I'm going to take my second one. Just go over that middle one again. Now you don't even have to do these 4 layers. I'm doing multiple layers just so you can kind of see that's that second one again. I take this third one. You're kind of going back over that yellow so it looks kind of like a splotchy. Like leaves aren't like solid color, right? They're like all splotchy kind of shades, speckled, and a lot of color variant in one leaf. This is that lightest one. So just play with it. But you see the general gist of doing your 4 tones. Let's do it again on this bigger one, and we'll try a little blender. All right, so is that all in the camera? Okay. We're going to do just a single layer. So we'll do these lines, and you don't even have to do this, and I'll show you on a different one what it looks like when you don't do this. Okay, go in the middle, go over it a few times. I'm going to do a little bit of extra dark right here where this little extra grayscale is, a little bit of like splotchiness. All right, let's go to our second green. Now I'm going to go over the middle, start bringing it into the white, and then I'm going to go over to these and bring the color into the white a little. I try to work somewhat fast so things don't get too dry while waiting. I'm actually speckling this one a little. Take my third color. I'm doing just, the goal is to keep blending the previous color wherever you can, especially with leaves, so you get like a natural look. Leave some white for that yellowish green. The lightest color. It doesn't have to be a yellowish green, but you can just do straight up yellow too, which will work nice. Gonna take a little work to blend all this in. If you don't like your kind of splotchy look, you can go back over it with the mid-tone. Sometimes the really light color, your final color, works as the blender itself. So yeah, so you see there's more dark definition around the sides, which I did not do here. You can see the difference kind of. Some people like that look, some people don't. And I'm just gonna keep blending this upward. And then I'm gonna get the blender, and I'm gonna do the lightest areas where there's some yellow. I'm gonna do it so you see a little, make it a little lighter, just right in those areas. Right, just in the center. So a different look here, and if you don't like it, you can just do the previous way, and then I'll show you another thing you could do too. You can also take your pencils and go in and touch this up. If you don't like kind of that splotchier look, I have my second to last light one, not the lightest, and I'm going to go over that so it's more solid around the edges here. And with these markers, it's just, you could do, it's just trial and error. But yeah, I think they look nice. So there you go. That's those two. And when it dries, it's actually going to look a little different. So if, like you see here, you got a little bit of that splotch. You can take again that second to last green, and you can, now you can kind of fill some of that in. Go back over where you did the blender. You can do whatever you want. You could even, if you don't like the look at all, just take the second or the third dark and just go over the whole thing. You can do that too. But if from higher view, you can see the difference. That one had a blender, that one didn't. There's one other thing you could do. Let's do that. I'm going to do on this leaf. I'm not going to outline the leaf grains. I'm just going to do the center. I'm going to start on one side of the leaf center and go outward. And then take my 4 colors, my second color, my third color, leave a little bit of white, and my 4th color for those white edges like we did with the rose. We'll see how that looks different. And then you can pull that dark color with the light one into it. You can even get a yellow to tip it there, which is nice. Let's do that on the other side. So we'll go out this way from that center. And I only like to do one side at a time because it, you know, it'll dry, it blends better when it's really wet. So I like to focus on one side at a time. There we go. Bringing that color out. We got my 3rd color, and keep these lined up from darkest to lightest on your table as you work. And my lightest one. Fully different process here. Pull that dark from the center in. This one, I'm not gonna do a blender or anything, so the look is different, right? So in this one, you just see more dark in the center, like a shadow, and you go outward with the lightest. This is the one where we outlined the grain, then we put darker along the edges, and then brought it all in and used the blender. And this one, we did outline the grain, work dark to lightest, and didn't use a blender. So you get different looks. You just have to play with it. And if you don't end up liking how that looks, no prob. Take, like you can take your third, if you want the whole thing to be lighter, like you can take, let's do it. So I'll take my second to last light, and we'll just go over the whole thing, including that last yellow. So that kind of changed the look, see? Or you can take your second to darkest, not the darkest, and go over all of that once that's done. And you'll see a little bit of that yellow through there, but you won't see as much drastic change from the center. In fact, I kind of like that, and then you leave a little light right there. Then take a blender, just doing that light kind of stripe right there. You can do that. There's a lot of things you can do. You can take, if you want full on dark, take your darkest and go back over the whole thing lightly, and you'll still see a little bit of that the 3 tones kind of come through. You can do that. And you can even take the darkest once you're done with all that and go back over the whole thing. And what this allows is you seeing kind of those different colors come through. You could even then take your blender again. Go really back right over there. So there's a lot of things you can do. It really depends on what you like. But you see how with those same colors, I got 3 different kind of looks. So this leaf is smaller, like these here. So I might actually do that darker green on all of them. I mean, yeah, you could just do a solid green without and be done, but I like to see some of the lighter colors come through. All right, so now we're gonna go and do a red rose right here. Let's do this one. Or do you want to do this big one? Let's do this giant one. And we're gonna also gonna blend in some of the other pink. All right, so we're gonna do this big one. I have my 4 reds. I'm also going to take one of the 4 pinks we used earlier, but we'll get to that next. All right, here we go. So in this rose, we're gonna take our darkest. It's not as dark as it looks, I've noticed. See all this dark grayscale here? Dark closer to the center, bring it light outward. So I'm going to start with this dark one. I'm just going to do some of this dark. And it's okay if it's not even. You can make it look a little stripey. You can do solid. You can do whatever you want. The second one. Bigger petals, so you want to work faster. So it blends well while it's moist. See, I'm going over it and then giving it some of its own white space. Third color. We're gonna bring, now this looks more red than the last color. The last color had more pink in it, so I'm gonna switch. I'm actually gonna switch this to the second and go back to that. This was the original second color. I need more pink here. And it's fine if it just kind of squiggles a little. Then take my last color. And I'm gonna actually grab a pink I did from the other rose to do the tipping of the edges. So I actually will have 5 colors for this one. I'm going to take this second pink we did. Let's do the edge here. It's like a hot pink. And you can also blend that in to the previous colors. You can blend it into all of it if you want. This is with no alcohol blender. See how that looks there. Isn't that pretty? I like it. Very easy. Let's go do the inside. We're going to do these dark areas here. Let's do this one too. I'm going to do just some of the inside parts that are darker. All right, my second one. If you're doing 2 petals at once, just be sure to work faster and make sure they're smaller, not huge. Like a big one you want to work on by itself. Because once it starts to dry, you're more likely to see a transition from one shade to the next. And you want to blend fluidly. This is my final red. But I'm going to get some of that pink. That in and over. I'm actually going to finish this off camera and pause, and then I'll show you how it looks at the very end. Now you can go over that with the pink. And we can do a little blender if you want. So let's take a little alcohol blender. Blend right here on this lightest part. I use it less for blending and more for like highlighting, for like a soft look, which, you know, it's blending, but it. And again, if you don't like the look, once it's dry, go back over with any of the shades and touch up as you see fit. Let's do one more. I'm going to do this huge one in the center, and then I'll pause, do the rest off camera, and you'll see what it looks like. So I'm doing this dark one at the base. These are great markers, you guys. Love them so much. Love, love, love. My second one. Focus on blending where the other color stops first. Bring it upward on the sides. Third color. All right, third color. And this is the pink. And pull that pink into it. You can use different shade of pink, a baby pink. I'm using this more like hot pink. And this one, I think I won't use the blender on the end. Well, maybe let's do a little blender just right here. You can give it like just a few little soft spots, almost like highlights. And if you don't like that, then just take your light one again, go back over it, or a darker one. So then I'm going to take, actually I don't, yeah, these, I don't like the Winsor Newton blender as much as I like my 3-packs I bought on Amazon, so I have to go reorder those. But I'll link them below. So I'm going to take, I'm just going to touch this up a little. All right, so I will finish this rose off camera, and I'm going to do also another one and maybe some yellows, and then I will show you the whole picture when it's done in just a second.